Following video is brought to you by the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. Please consider liking and subscribing for more Boston sports content.
The red, white, and blue. I can't lose with the red, white, and blue. My whole crew is the red, white, and blue. I represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home. I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep. Field goal.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pats Nation Nightly. My name is Zach Ventola, joined as always by Ben Belford Peltzman. We also have a couple of very special guests here, Andrew, PGS Nest, and Carlos, Los Talks Pats. Obviously, a ton of stuff to get into. Patriots win today against the Buffalo Bills to go from the first pick in the NFL draft to the fourth. But most importantly, Gerard Mayo is out as the head coach of the New England Patriots just mere hours after, not even hours, an hour after beating the Buffalo Bills. So, Ben, I guess we can start it with you. How are you feeling about this move by the Patriots?
This today felt like a loss, and they won. They beat a division rival, and that was almost as ugly as a win you can get in a fan base, right? You secured the number 1 pick, and it just went away just like that. But one and done for Gerard Mayo, who promised the Patriots fan base on WEEI just before the season that he would turn around this team, that he would get a better record than last season. And obviously he did not accomplish that. There's really nothing that went right for the Patriots this season. Their defense went down. Their offense went down. Obviously, Drake May is a positive, but how much does Gerard Mayo really have to do with that? This move, I want to say, was planned out before today's game. Like this was 45 minutes after the game ended, and Kraft already talked with them. The press release was probably already wrote. Like, this move was probably happening couple days ago, even last week. Robert Kraft wants to see a winning team. The Buccaneers did it. The Lions did it. They all moved on. The Bucs moved on from Tom Brady just a few years ago and just won the division for the 4th straight year today. The Lions were 3-14 when they 3-15 when they hired Dan Campbell and turned it around after a year. So Kraft wants to see some change happen, and obviously Mike Vrabel is someone who comes to mind. But Carlos, Andrew, what are your immediate thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy how quick it happened. Makes you think that this was a predetermined move before today's game even started. It sucks to lose out on that draft pick, especially given that Mayo was fired right after the game. But it seems like he never, players have spoken out in favor and preaching highly of Mayo, but at the same time, it didn't seem like he had that locker room fully under control in terms of getting them fired up for the games and keeping them really into the season as they got into the latter half of the regular season. But yeah, it's a move that I think kind of needed to be made, especially after a season like this. A lot of fans are upset. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting day to be a Pats fan right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I see, so I see you're in the comments. I'm in all of James White's lives on the Money Down podcast, and they were pretty much saying that he should get another year. And although I could see people the argument for that, it was just too much dysfunction. Anyone could see how dysfunctional this team was, and maybe not from a national perspective, because us four here in particular, we're so in tune with what's going on with the team that we see it. It's very obvious. And that's not just us four, obviously. It's like Patriots Nation sees everything that's been going on. So it's like, I understand the roster was bad. I hear what you're saying. I trust me, I hear what you're saying, but like just little things, little things that you would expect a head coach to do or fix or just address, and like mistakes that just kept piling up. I really don't even understand how to like explain it. It just felt like so much compiled throughout the season that made it one of the most, I put it out too, one of the most miserable seasons that I've ever had to experience as a Patriots fan. And I know like people can relate. So it's like, we'll see where they go now. I like, another thing I just put out recently was like, this is the most united I've seen Patriots Nation in a long time. I think that's going to end pretty quickly once the, you know, the head coach interviews start coming in and people start picking sides of who they want to be the next head coach. But for now, I think everyone should just appreciate the reset. Honestly, shout out to Robert Kraft for having the, you know, the guts to make that decision. I know it was tough for him, so props to him. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from here.
Really quick, just jumping in here. Andrew Callahan from the Boston Herald and then Chad Graff from The Athletic recently put out that Patriots Executive Vice President of Player Personnel, Elliot Wolf, is expected to stay around with the Patriots. Now, you usually see the front office being fired or let go after the NFL draft in May or in June. That's when those let goes, firings usually happen, right? They've already been putting in so much work for the draft, the scouting, the scout boards, the draft boards. All of this is, I would say, 70 to 80% done by the time the season ends around here. They're getting ready to go to the pro days and to the Senior Bowl and to the Shrine Bowl and to all these bowl games. So the scouting is already done for the most part. So I would think that most of the front office sticks around. Matt Groh, Elliot Wolf, Alonzo Highsmith are names that come to mind. But I am interested to see if Alex Van Pelt, if DeMarcus Covington, if some of these position coaches stay around, because Joe Milton looked good today. And not to get off topic, but he looked really good, and he was not that good during training camp. I watched him during training camp, and his accuracy was off. He didn't look that fluid in the pocket. So that's props to Alex Van Pelt, TJ McCartney for really jumping in there and helping Milton out.
Yeah. Look, it's really like tough because Mike Vrabel is going to want to bring in his guys. Yeah. Assuming Vrabel's the one who gets the job, or
Jeff
Ben
Howe
Johnson
already reported that too. Yeah.
Ben Johnson, if he gets the job, he's going to want to bring in his guys. But it is tough to ignore what Alex Van Pelt, what TC McCartney, and what Ben McAdoo have done this season for the quarterbacks. I would personally love to see Van Pelt back as, not as an offensive coordinator, but senior offensive assistant, some sort of, title like that. Yeah. Ben McAdoo stay in whatever role he's in. I'm actually not quite sure of the exact title. It might be what I just mentioned for Van Pelt. Keep TC McCartney as the quarterback's coach. I would personally like to see that be done. Maybe even Jeremy Springer, keeping him as the special teams coordinator. I think he's done a good job. Matthew Slater, keeping him around. Is that actually going to happen? Who knows? Again, head coaches are going to want to bring in the guys that they have relationships with, that they know will succeed. And Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson or Brian Flores or whoever else it may be doesn't personally know that about Alex Van Pelt, about Jeremy Springer, about McAdoo or McCartney. I do want to bring this comment up real quick. If Johnson or Vrabel were to come in and do the same, would we have the same energy? And you guys can get to this after, but I would say that it depends on how they would look. This Patriots team was so uninspiring. They, on and off the field, I mean, really, what they did off the field, how they handled themselves in front of the media, might have been worse than how they performed on the field. It was bad all around. And the difference between Gerard Mayo and Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel is, I could tell you a laundry list of what Ben Johnson does well. I can tell you a laundry list of what Mike Vrabel does well. I don't know that I could tell you a single thing that Gerard Mayo does well.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's the harsh reality. In all honesty, like I know people have been throwing out that example, like if Gerard Mayo were to get fired, which now he is, would teams be clamoring to hire him as a defensive coordinator, linebackers coach? The fact that I can't give an honest and like I guess you could say confident answer in that and saying like yes, a team would be clamoring for him. That just says a lot, you know. Um, it'll be interesting just basing it off of this question in particular. Like kind of like how you said, there's no way that even if they do have a bad season again, it's just that these guys have the experience. They've been coordinators before. They've been head coaches before. Like for me personally, I don't want to get too deep into like the head coach search and everything, but me personally, I don't want to go to Ben Johnson just because I don't want another rookie head coach. I know people are going to disagree with that. That's just my personal opinion. But with Vrabel in particular, if it happens again, I don't expect it to be as bad off the field as it was this season. Like kind of like how you said, Zach, there's this product that they gave off the field was I don't remember it ever being this unbuttoned, I guess you could call it. Like they weren't tidied up. They didn't have like I don't even know if it was like media training or what. It was way
just
too many things going on. Yeah, that's the perfect word. Yeah, they were undisciplined on and off the field. It didn't look like a true NFL franchise. So we'll see if that changes.
And real quick, the thing that made me really bothered watching this team was the undisciplinedness on the field, the false starts that continued 18 weeks in the season. You were watching guys who didn't know where to line up, including veterans like Kendrick Bourne last week. You were watching people get mad at each other on the field, but the undisciplined flags, the false starts, the offsides is something that is taught and enforced by the coaching and how you practice. And the Patriots, all 18 weeks of the season, didn't look like they practiced well.
Yeah. Andrew, did you want to hop in or?
Yeah, just kind of adding off of the Vrabel talk. This is per Mike Reese via Andrew Callahan. Mike Vrabel is expected to be among the coaching candidates the Patriots will interview for the job.
Okay.
There you go.
And it makes sense. I would say that was a major factor into moving on from Mayo. Vrabel is a guy who not only do we as fans think that he's a good head coach, or was and hopefully will continue to be, but Robert Kraft trusts him.
Ben Volen is reporting that Alex Van Pelt is gone at 5:20, 30 minutes ago. But
Do we
I don't know
trust
if
that?
anyone picked up on that.
That would make sense, but I would wait to see if anybody else confirms it. I think nobody else, and that's not a shot at Ben Volen. I don't mean it like that, but I would say the fact that nobody else has really said it, kind of, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah,
I
just
guess
saw like Tom Pelissero just like I don't know if it was within that 30 minutes, but he just said like Gerard Mayo's the only one that's been fired as of right now.
Yeah. But also all of those reports have seemed to be more about the front office. Like those reports have kind of they've been combined with like Gerard Mayo's the only one who's been fired. Elliot Wolf is staying. It seemed like that's more focusing on the front office. Again, if Mayo's gone, well, we know he's gone. Mayo's gone. A new head coach will come in. He'll want to bring his own guys. But going back to what I was saying before, Robert Kraft trusts Mike Vrabel. He believes in Mike Vrabel. We all know that. Vrabel is a Patriots Hall of Famer and stood in front of 60,000 Patriots fans just a year ago and told them, or 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, whatever, time flies, a year ago, and told them how no organization is like the New England Patriots. Told them how not to take the New England Patriots for granted. It's unlike any other place in the NFL. Robert Kraft trusts that guy to be not only to be a player like he was for the Patriots, but I believe he will to be a coach for the Patriots in the future. And I think that that's a major factor into why they decided to move on from Mayo. This head coaching pool this year is, in my opinion, one of the strongest we've seen in a while. Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Brian Flores, and Vrabel and Flores, obviously guys who have connections with the Patriots. Vrabel playing here, Flores coaching here. Plus, the Patriots are looked like they would be in a better position than they are today, heading into it for candidates. Candidates would have seen what should have been the number one pick. They would have seen the most cap space in the NFL. They see Drake May, so it's things like that that really make the Patriots have a sense of urgency to get a guy in the building at head coach who knows how to win, because this year is the year to do it, and they recognize that Mayo would not be the guy.
Yeah, it's going to be huge for free agency as well. I mean, like, you couldn't really sell people on the Patriots with Gerard Mayo. And that was my biggest worry going into next season. That, like, hey, I know, like what Kendrick Bourne said on the TikTok live to T Higgins, like, it's not as bad, or he said something along those lines, like it's not as bad as it seems, or something like that. But
that was weird.
Yeah, like that's not a selling point. Like, no one's gonna think to themselves like, oh, you know what, that's true, maybe I'll give it a try. Like, no, you're gonna be moving your whole family there. Like, your life is gonna be based with that organization now, and it's a big decision. So Vrabel has guys that he's coached that are probably going to want to play for him. Ben Johnson, obviously, Brian Flores. Another name that comes to mind is Aaron Glenn from the Lions too. There's a lot of guys like Liam Cohen. There's a lot of guys that, like how Zach said, like, this is a very strong head coaching class, or however you want to call it, but they have a lot to choose from. I know there was a report, I can't remember who it was that reported it. I tweeted it, but that they will have a thorough search, and they're going to do like multiple interviews. It's not just going to be, that was Jordan Schultz, by the way, I just remembered. But that it's not going to be like, oh, Vrabel wants it, like he gets it. They're going to have a true search. They need to factor in so many things, like even things such as free agency, like I said. Who was it? Someone else. Jeff Howe reported that Mike Vrabel, if he comes, he's going to have his own staff that he's going to bring in, which is obvious, but it's like, it's going to be a lot of change, and it's going to be a whole new system and team regime around Drake May. So we'll see how this goes. I'm actually excited for it now, but maybe I'll eat those words in a year, but I'm actually excited at this point.
Yeah, real quick, just to everybody listening, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, go ahead, put it in the chat. We will be putting them up here and answering as much of them as we can. So I do just want to throw that out. We have a lot of people in here watching right now, so any questions you have about the future of the franchise or what happened today, go ahead, put it in the comments, and we'll throw it on the screen.
How do you guys feel about Josh McDaniels if he comes back?
I'm
not as head coach, not as head coach.
No, as OC, I'm good. They need to separate from the old Patriots, the old, anything associated with the old staff and all that. I think they just need a fresh start.
So I'll give you this question: what makes Mike Vrabel? I know my answer, but what makes Mike Vrabel appealing as the new Patriots head coach?
Andrew, you want to go first?
I don't know if I'm necessarily as high on Vrabel as others, but I will say I think he is a proven leader. I think he brings the leadership that Mayo couldn't bring to the table, just because I feel like Robert Kraft kind of thrust Mayo into that position a little too early in his career. I feel like Mayo, he does have the potential to be a good coach. He just needs the time, and I think he was kind of rushed into it. And him being rushed into it, he wasn't able to really figure out how he was going to lead these group of guys. And I think Vrabel comes in being an immediate impact leader for the locker room. And again, going back to the point about free agency, that attracts some players that will want to play for Vrabel. That's an appealing factor for players in free agency. And really just the leadership skills is what is the most eye-popping part about Vrabel coming in as head coach, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if in my opinion, it's just the experience and the fact that he's won coach of the year before. Like, this isn't some guy that's unproven, that wasn't at the top of all 32 coaches not that long ago. Um, he's gonna bring in his own culture, his own mindset, and he's gonna have a true identity, unlike the previous head coach that kept saying that their identity was this, their identity was that, and it clearly wasn't. Um, I just think that's going to be the biggest shift if he were to be the head coach, and that's why I like him. I'm kind of in the same boat as Andrew, though. It's not like I'm not in my mindset. I'm not like, oh, it's Vrabel or nothing. Like, I only want Mike Vrabel. But if it were to be him, those are the selling points without a doubt. Like, you see how he reacted. I don't know if anybody remembers, but Titans longtime center Ben Jones, when he played, I don't know if it was his last game or he played it through an injury or something. Vrabel was crying with him in the tunnel. Like, he had like that emotion and attachment to his players that Gerard Mayo said he had, but you never really see. One thing about Gerard Mayo, just to rant a little bit, you never saw an ounce of emotion from him unless it was like him being slightly happy when something good
We
happened.
did see some today.
Today he
yeah.
had some moments, and it was odd to me because it's like, where was that the entire season? But you just never saw him get excited. As like, I know he had that weird, I don't know, it was like a chest bump with Alex Van Pelt like early on in the season, and maybe he got bullied enough online to not do it again. I don't know. Like, he just showed no emotion, and you need someone that's going to fight for the team, like externally, not just internally, like, interpersonal relationships, but like with the refs, like yelling or on the side. I don't know. That's just my personal rant. But yeah, I think you're going to get that with any other coach, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Zach.
I mean, just real quick, we hear the term players coach thrown around so much with Mike Vrabel, but like you said, was he really a players coach? What was he doing for these players? He was showing no fight for them, no emotion for them. I know there's more that's going on behind closed doors that we don't get to see, but for being a players coach, he wasn't really doing much for the players.
That's ping pong tables. Good ping pong tables. That was nice. But yeah, I mean, just like that handshake, it didn't seem like him and Alex Van Pelt were necessarily on the same page. Doesn't seem like they have been on the same page all season long. And that's one of my critiques with Gerard Mayo. Like, he obviously was part of the search of bringing in his offensive coordinator, but ever since, maybe not all the way back to training camp, but at the beginning of the regular season, it didn't seem like him and Alex Van Pelt were on the same page. Even when it came to Drake May's development plan, when he was going to start and whatnot, obviously whatever Van Pelt's plan was worked out, but it just didn't seem like they were on the same page. And there's so many things in game that Gerard Mayo would have to, like, that the head coach, period, has to like manage and control. And he needs to be able to have full trust in at least one of his coordinators to fully run that group during the game. He can't micromanage both the defense and offense. And if there was no true trust between him and Van Pelt, then yeah, that offense wasn't going to work out. And I think a good thing with Vrabel coming in, if he were to be announced the head coach, is that he knows who he needs to hire and who will work out for him because he has that experience. Mayo didn't have that experience. And that's just another plus if they bring Vrabel in, because he'll know who he needs to hire for his offense and his defense to work out.
Yeah, that's a guy who's been around the league and multiple leagues. I mean, coached college football, coached in the NFL for multiple different teams. He has connections that Mayo does not.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong this offseason. You have a ton of cap space. We've been talking about T. Higgins. We've been talking about the NFL draft. You still have a high pick. I know it's not the number one pick, but you still have the fourth pick. You have good draft capital, right? You have a lot of money in free agency. You already have your quarterback who's on a rookie contract, which allows you to spend a little more money because you're not paying that quarterback money yet, right? So the Patriots have to capitalize, whether it's in free agency, the draft, both. And I feel like T. Higgins, you need a veteran receiver. You need someone who's going to help Drake May. I feel like Kayshon Boutte has really impressed me in the last. I don't know what the right word is, but I feel like he's done enough to stick around. And I can't say that about a lot of guys on the offense. I hope Hunter Henry's back.
Yeah.
Probably Douglas too.
Yep.
But other than those three, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. I mean, they need some. I doubt he's watching. All love to Kendrick Bourne. He's such a cool dude, but he was not a good enough veteran in the receiver room this season. Like, I don't know if maybe that's not his best role. Maybe he's like the funny big brother that they need, but they need someone truly like established in the NFL. When I mean that, I'm saying someone that's like a wide receiver one, that's a veteran, or someone that's like KJ Osborne was there, and people spoke very highly about him. It's just that he didn't have the production on the field to prove that, or to kind of, I guess you could say, couple with it. They just need somebody that's going to hold them accountable, somebody that's going to set the standard, show them how to be professionals in a way, because it's a very young receiver room. And if you're seeing like only veteran in that room is constantly making mistakes week in, week out, like procedural mistakes, that says a lot, right? So it's like they just need somebody, a presence. And I know this doesn't, I'm going to kind of go against what I just said, how I said the KJ Osborne thing. Someone that comes to mind, and then I know it's going to sound funny, someone like DeMarcus Robinson from the Rams. Like, he's a free agent. Someone like that that's just coming from a good culture of wide receivers, but not just him. Like, that's like another KJ Osborne in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, it just can't be someone like him. It should be him and T. Higgins, Chris Godwin. Like, they just need multiple guys that can set that standard in that room.
And I mean, to me, and this is kind of speculatory, but I don't think T. Higgins is making it to free agency. I'd be shocked at this point. Bengals, by the way, are pretty much eliminated from playoff contention. The Broncos are up. When I just got the notification, it said they're up 24-0. So Broncos are in, Bengals are out. Now, what does that mean for Higgins? Does it mean anything at all? Maybe not. Will he see that or obviously he knows that? Will he want to run it back again and try to prove everybody wrong and actually make a push with the same team? Maybe. Or will he see it and just kind of think, well, it's over. This is my last game here in Cincinnati. It's time to move on to the next chapter of my life with a new team. Who knows? That only he does. But I would be shocked if he makes it to free agency. I think T. Higgins is going to get a bag from the Bengals. They're going to want to retain their kind of big three with him, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. So then the Patriots would either need to trade for a guy like that, or potentially Chris Godwin, signing him, but coming off of the injury that he got, is he going to be that same guy that he was before? That remains to be seen. It could go either way, really, but look, it's going to be a multi-year thing, and we all knew that. I think having the number 1 overall pick would have sped that process up a whole lot. Being able to move that, really, like that, if they had number 1, they could have traded for number 4 or for number 3, which they ended up getting number 4, and still getting a first-round pick next year and second-round picks and maybe a veteran guy. Instead, they just end up with number 4, right? It's unfortunate, but that would have helped out a ton. They could have traded some of that capital for a true number 1 receiver. potentially like a DK Metcalf or whoever else is on the trade market. That's not going to happen anymore. But yeah, as Carlos said, that is important. They need to get a guy like that who can, first of all, is a veteran who knows what he's doing and can have a presence in that room, but also somebody who's going to show up on Sundays and make defenses pay for any sort of mistakes.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap up this emergency pod. I want to thank Carlos and Andrew for joining us on such short notice, and be on the lookout later in the week for some more streams, some more pods, because it is definitely going to be an eventful offseason in New England. Carlos, Andrew, want to tell everyone where they can find your content?
Go ahead, Andrew.
You can find me at NSPGS on X, and you can also find me and Carlos on the Patriots Pulse podcast. We typically go live weekly. Haven't really been able to stick to that schedule as of late, but we're getting right back on that this upcoming week. So keep staying tuned for that.
Yeah. You guys could obviously find me, like it says down here, at Los Talks Pats. We'll all four of us will be keeping you all updated. I have one last question before we go. It could be just a quick yes or no. Should Elliot Wolf be back? Quick yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
If the head coach wants him to be.
All right. I mean, I'm going yes, so it's like around, I'll say 3 and 0.5.
I think yeah. Like I think so, but it depends on if it's a deal breaker for the head coach. I don't think that's the hill to die on for Kraft. But
that's fair.
Anyways, and also the Patriots need to interview everybody who's anybody for that head coaching position. Interview 20 candidates for all I care. But with that being said, thank you all for listening and tuning in to this little emergency show. Again, Patriots win today against the Bills to push them from the first pick to the 4th. But afterwards, they also fire head coach Gerard Mayo after just one season. I'm sure we will have plenty more talk about this in the near future. And of course, about the head coaching search, free agency, and the draft coming up in the next few months. But until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching.